Well, first off, I like to say of those '90s teams, we had the best teams of the '90s. I don't care with Ashton, I know Brandon, and all of them all say what they did, but
how did I know
against,
you were going to say that?
We played against real teams and real players the whole time. so, so I start with that. But no, listen, it was for me. It was almost a continuation of how basketball was taught to me with my dad. By then going and playing for Coach Farrell, which was it was always going to be the team first. And because it was team first, everybody had an opportunity to be successful. He was fantastic at putting guys in positions where you could be successful to your talent. And I think that is a trait of a good coach at every level. And if you look at the coaches that do well college, the coaches that do well the pros, it's not their X and O's that have allowed them to be great coaches. That is definitely a big part of it. But the bigger part of it is the ability to be able to get the most out of your player. It is a situation that coach was always good at and doing, was always good at maximizing players. And so because of that, it was the same mindset that I took with basketball, which was maximize my guys. And I thought that was the role that I had to play in order for the teams that I were on to be good, but also to help me be good. And so just that team mentality, that team aspect is what made him be a special coach, but also somebody that expected the same work ethic from his best players as the guys that weren't considered to be the better players. Because when you see for me, it was an Ira Bowman. When I see Ira working just as hard in practice as I was, or making sure that I was up, and when we had these early morning practices, when we're sleeping in the lobby, because we want to make sure that we're on time, for him to make sure that I got there, to me was leadership. And because of that leadership, it was a something that I knew that I had to then carry on myself from there. So I think it was fun times for me. I loved every moment of playing for Coach Farrell. And like I said, it was the basis of who I was as a player. Of course, started with my dad. That was first and foremost. But what Coach poured into me just furthered that, and it also it gave me the belief that I could be a good player as time went on. I think the biggest moments weren't even in wins. I remember we played Essex Catholic at Seton Hall, and I got the ball taken from me at the end of the game, and ultimately we lost the game because of that. And I can remember Coach Farrell just putting his arm around me and letting me know that there will be hard times, but I promise you we'll have way more good times than hard times.
Please. So, Brev was one of a kind, and two little quick stories to kind of tell you who he is. When he was a freshman, he probably was good enough to be on the varsity, but I wanted to kind of transition him to the JV before I brought him up. And he said to me, "Coach, I want to stay with my classmates on the freshman team." And I thought, geez, this kid is really special. And the second story, he was so good that, there were certain games where I just said, "Hey, Brett, I want you to just like take over. You can get anywhere you want to get, and you can score." And he would say to me, "Coach, I can't do it by myself. I need the other four guys." So sometimes your players teach you, sometimes you teach your players. And Brevin taught me quite a few things in his career. And I just want to say the argument that you had the best team, Brev. I will say this: your points of argument are: you beat the Group 1, the Group 2, the Group 3, and the Group 4 champions that year. You beat all by double figures. You beat the Morris County champs, the Bergen County champs, and the Mercer County champs. You almost lost to Livingston. And, you know, that's where you should stake your claim. I'll tell you what your brother did to me. We lost down in Myrtle Beach to a team from DeMatha who had like 3 pros on it. And we came back to Jersey, and Brandon knocked on my door the first day back and said, "Coach, I am so disappointed in you because you weren't even upset that we lost to DeMatha, even though they were #1 in the country." He says, "I was really pissed off and you weren't." So I said to him, here's what, Brand, don't lose again. And they went on and won the tournament champion. So that's the argument that you guys can have. I won't add anything to that.
You gave me enough of enough ammunition for me.
I know I did.
When that comes up, I'm going to shoot down everyone that talks about it.
Great.
Fellas, first, I just want to say, number one, thanks. It was good for me to see everybody. I just keep scrolling through here. I'm not driving. I'm riding with my son is learning how to drive. So if y'all saw some faces, that was the reason. It's the reason why, driving in morning traffic with him coming to school. But I'm going to have to jump off here at this because now I do have to drive. But it was great to see so many familiar faces and names on here, and I can't wait until I have enough time to be back around the prep again. Once I get this last child out of high school, then my time will free up some to be able to be around again. But the prep will always be near and dear to my heart. It's I tell everybody it's my start of my journey. Started in the prep, and so Coach Farrell, thanks to you, and thanks to everyone else on here that has been a supporter of this program for a long time. So love you guys. Thanks for having me, and I'll see you guys soon.
Hey, Brev, I'll look in the mail for my Grizzly golf shirt. Large.
It's coming. Okay. I keep telling you, send me your address.
Ira gave me this one.
All right, I got better ones than that.
All right.
Address. Don't be afraid to have some XLs in there, Brevin. Thanks for coming.
Take care.
All right, I'll see you guys.
All right, I want
to. What's going on, fellas? Thanks for having me, PJ. Coach, oh man.
How are you, Ash?
We've definitely had quite a journey. You know, he threw me out into the fire, I guess, my freshman year playing varsity. So that was really the start of, you know, my career. I really think, in terms of just being out there and really having to make a name for myself. But within the team concept, we were, you know, tournament champions at the end of the day. We won the TOC. But I think his confidence in me day in and day out to play at the varsity level as a freshman was huge, you know. So once I was able to get to college, and, you know, I kind of did the same thing as my freshman year in college as well, as being the 6th, 7th man, you know, on the Pittsburgh team as well. So that all stemmed from Coach Farrell really believing in me, you know, as a 9th grader, to come in and really make a mark as a freshman. And I remember the practices. I remember his just approach to every practice. That was the biggest thing that I learned, is just his mindset. Whether we lost the game or whether we won, it was the same approach that we're gonna come into every practice and really attack it. And I took that with me day in and day out, not only individually, but collectively as a leader, as a point guard as well. So I learned so much from Coach Farrell, and I'm still learning. So now as a head coach, I got to remember some of those small terms that he used to say, some of the drills, definitely the free throws at the end of practice, to make sure everybody is running and getting their cardio in. So I still remember, you know, a lot of the drills. I still remember the mindset, the approach to the game that he had, and I'm still taking it with me to this day. So he's definitely one of the reasons why I started coaching, you know, after basketball, and you know, I'm gonna continue it here.
All right, so Ashton, the one thing about Ashton is every time I thought he had reached a ceiling, he broke through the ceiling. He was one of the hardest workers that I've ever had. And I used to drive him home from practice, but I had to wait for him to finish shooting like 1,000 shots. And even when he got to college, I said, man, he's had some freshman year. Can he do better? And he always did. I mean, his work ethic was incredible. I did want to tell one little story. I don't know if you remember this one, Ash. When you were a senior, Sterling was a freshman. And I remember we were playing Mount Olive, and Ashton started yelling on the court at his brother for not passing the ball. And so after the game was over, I kept the two of them in the locker room afterwards. Do you remember this, Ash? I kept the both of you in the locker room. I said, listen, if there's going to be tension between the two of you, then I can only play one of you at a time. And I said, so that means you're only going to get 16 minutes each. And that pretty much put the end to them bickering on the court. So
oh, that changed it all.
Yeah, he's a fast learner.
But especially in my senior year, for sure, I was like, listen, Sterl, you got 3 more years of this. So pass the ball when I'm open. But all in all, we settled that right away. And I just remember the car rides home.
I know you didn't like my channel selections.
I didn't really like the sports radio, not right after practice, but
I hear you.
I was usually knocked out sleep anyway. So
you were. But I just have to wake you up at the Burger King. Say your mom and dad are here.
For sure. But all in all, man, I had an unbelievable experience playing wise for Coach Farrell, man. And I really thank you, man, because throughout my hard work, it stemmed. I played on some great teams, and it always stemmed from a great leader like you, and you really taught me how to be a top-notch point guard, not only on the court but off the court, and just bringing everybody together, making sure everybody was on one accord all the time, and not always on the best circumstances whenever we won games, but even through losses as well, really having the same, mindset day in and day out in practice. We're going to really, attack our weaknesses.
And I'll let you go ahead. I think we lost Ashton officially, so we'll wait and see if he gets back in here. But go ahead, Mike.
All right. Hey there, Coach. Hey, everybody. How are you, Coach?
Good, Michael.
Man, how is it after all these years? I'm still nervous. All right. You still make me nervous.
You should be. That's why you played so well.
Hey, that's true. Well, we just had Ashton too. I want to also share before we get into Coach Ashton. I don't know if he's on here. We do talk here and there, and my best teammate by far. I think Coach hit it spot on with just exceeding expectations. I learned really quickly not to doubt Ashton. Now I'm looking to get into coaching, and the way I go about my training or coaching, it's not like I open up a Bobby Farrell playbook like this is what he does. But when I look back, the things that I hear, like repetition, everyone says that, but you put in that work, like with repetition every day in practice, and just instilled it in us. And that is something that just I carry through life, no matter what it is, a bad day, anything. I owe it to you. I know work, show up. And I owe that to you. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Michael.
I guess I'm the old guy, because I remember going to Mike Shannon's dad's shop, his athletic shop, buying stuff. I played on the '83 team. I
know.
I know you know. I'm going to tell a story about you.
Okay.
And presently, I am the chair of the theater program at UCLA. I do theater. I'm a playwright. I'm a director. I got a bunch of stuff going on. I do a lot of stuff, which is great. And in part due to Seton Hall Prep and Coach Farrell. Aside from being old, I wanted to tell this story about Coach Farrell. So I was part of the first group of winning. You know, his daughters were really little. I think sophomore year I played JV. I think we won 15 games. But my junior year, we went to the States. And my senior year, we went to the county finals, and you know we weren't as great as those '90s teams. But there are a couple things I remember about Coach that I tell people. One, you had to work hard all the time, and two, he didn't change his rules. So I used to start the Princeton exchange occasionally by going behind my back, throwing a behind the back pass. Coach, you probably remember this. And I can't remember who we were playing. I think it was Orange High School. So I grew up in Orange, and I throw a behind the back pass to start the exchange, and Coach takes me out of the game. And I'm furious because I'm like, wait a second. And I was one of those guys, I was talking smack. I was like, it was probably really difficult to deal with me, Coach, now that I think about it. But but I remember you took me out of the game, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, we're gonna lose. And I don't think you cared. I think you were like, I told you not to throw the behind the back pass to start the exchange. You did it again, and you did it again. And you took me out and we let me sit. You brought me back in the game near the end. We ended up losing to Orange. We lost to Orange on a play that I made a mistake on. I was trying to get in the lane. Kid stripped me, went down and made a layup. Like I remember it like it was yesterday, 40 years later. But one of the things I think, and I don't know if you had this thought, Coach, you were concerned about winning, but you were really concerned about playing the right way. I'm trying to show these young men something. You know, whether it's me or anybody else, you're like, I got to get you to understand that there's a certain way we want to do things here. Were you worried about winning at the beginning, or was that not your concern?
By the time you got there, Dom, I you know, listen, we all know, I always felt like you can schedule wins. Wins come with longevity. But championships, you have to earn those because you get thrown into a group of everybody's proud equal. So you guys, I remember your senior year in the cafeteria, I hear you telling everybody that we're going to play Montclair in the finals. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is like November. Yeah. So you were clairvoyant, Dominic. And it was really fun to coach you and with Tommy Hard and
Milton and Tony Woods. And
yeah, that was a great team. And I really enjoyed it. And it's funny because I see Mike Shannon on here, and Mike can tell you the same story about getting benched by me, not just him, the whole team, and never putting them back in. And we end up losing and costing us the
20 wins.
20 wins and probably the conference championship.
They never say 19 and up. They always say 20 and up. So we get bounced. Sorry.
We got bounced. That was my fault, right? All I said, I think I said to you guys at the time when I took you out, if you didn't want to play today, let me know beforehand. So we fell behind, but you were a pleasure to coach, Michael, too, and Dominic. Unbelievable.
Mike Shannon.
So Dominic's done two memories. One, so Dominic Taylor was smooth then, and I was younger, so you remember all these things, but he's still smooth now, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But my first memory, I think, might have been 83. Did you play Montclair at Walsh in the finals? Where everybody to me looked so big. You had Tommy Cook out there. I remember Dominic, Matt Lasher was out there. And then I think Tommy Ard, Tommy Cook, and maybe Mark Madden as sophomore and TJ Whitaker possibly coming off the bench.
I don't think so. I think we had Milton Godbolt, Dominic, and Tommy Ard were three guards.
Yeah.
We had Stanley Woods, Tony Woods, and Tommy Cook. Am I right, Dom?
Yeah, that's it. And we went to double overtime or whatever it was.
Yeah,
it was a long game.
In regulation, we were up 2. Milton went for a steal in the corner when we were playing a 1-3-1 zone, and he ran over Robbie Osborne. Robbie Osborne went and made 2 to put it into overtime.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's the memory I wanted to start off with. And I think another year, when I had Madden and TJ as sophomores, everybody still looked so big. Now I'm only 5'8", so everybody still looks big to me, even the 7th and 8th graders. So that's a different story. But I remember seeing TJ go out there, and I'm like, "Ooh, maybe there's a chance I could play." I loved the way TJ played, but you know, he was a little bit more on my height. So the next memory, 85, 86, Brookdale Community College. I was a freshman. And we went down to Brookdale Community College, played CBA. I say we, I was not on the team. But watching Matt last year, who I went to grammar school with, so I keep mentioning Matt. But watch you guys beat John Crotty in that CBA team. We got bust down. Amazing atmosphere. So I know you remember that game, and that was a hell of a team. I think that maybe in the first year you went to South Carolina and beat some of those teams. And then the last piece, so Brev talked about maximizing talent. We talk about the 90s of the golden years and maybe the early 80s, but 88, 89 was not necessarily the golden years. But I see Greg Rogers on here, Rich Merklinger, so I'll give them a little shout out. But I say you maximize talent. Aside from Ira being a sophomore, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to remember anybody, maybe Walter Morton. But we had 19 wins, came up one short. So every time they mention your 20-win seasons, that Mount Olive loss hurt. Lost in the finals of the ECT to a good Scotties team, but a team we probably could have beat, and lost in the semifinals at Del Barton after a bunch of injuries. So every time they talk about your accolades, I'm so close to some of those accolades, but you really maximize talent. So I thought Brevin brought up a good point. I'm going to step back, and if anybody else wants to talk.
Mike, can I tell a story about you so that everybody understands who you are?
Yeah,
I don't know
if Greg Rogers is on here, so he gets, you know. No.
Yeah. Well, here's the story about you, Michael. We were playing Columbia at home, and we were down maybe 1 or 2. They missed the foul shot. You got the outlet. And you tried to dribble through everybody to get the last second shot off. And I thought you would have been better served to kick it ahead to somebody. I'm not sure if there was anybody ahead of you, but I thought there was. And you got a shot off that wasn't the best shot. And I remember saying to you after the game, I think you could have looked up the floor and gotten rid of it. I don't know if I was that calm, but I think I was. Now it comes the end of the season. We're playing at Columbia. We need to beat them to win the conference or get a tie for a conference. This was 88.
Yes, and Malone.
Right. You got the outlet. We needed to make a basket. You take one dribble and you throw it ahead to Mike Malone, who lays it up kind of underneath the rim. Somehow it crawls over the rim and goes in, and we end up winning the conference. So that was for me, I remember that to this day, that you learned a lesson. I maybe taught a lesson, and it was, those memories are just as strong as any state championship, Michael.
Yeah, your memories, thank you for bringing that up. Your memories are, is unbelievable about the different teams. All right, thank you. Great seeing you,
Michael.
Coach.
Hey, Mr. Farrell, haven't seen your face in 45 years.
How are you, Attila?
Fantastic. I just wanted to tell everyone it was a wonderful experience being coached by you and Mr. Butler, and I'm so sorry to hear that he had passed. I had no idea. I really haven't plugged back into the prep community until recently, so I've missed a lot of things. But congratulations on your career in the 80s and 90s. Awesome job. But I just wanted to remind you, we had kind of a special team in '72 when I was a freshman.
Yes, you did.
I don't even think they called it JV then. It was just a freshman team of myself. I was the center at 6'7". Our two forwards were 6'5" and 6'6".
That's correct.
And our two guards were like 6'2" and 6'0". We went 21-3, and what a blast. I mean, that was really special. And we actually had to find rides and sometimes we walked, but
Attila, tell me, what was the record?
21-3.
Okay, I remember one of the losses was in the finals of a Christmas tournament we had to Roselle Catholic.
Yeah.
And you know what? My brother was the coach of that team.
Wow. Great.
And I had mixed emotions.
Yeah.
But you guys were good.
Yeah, it was a fun experience, and we practiced at a small gym that was at a girls' school down the road. I don't know.
Yeah, Mary Long.
There you go. Yeah, long time
So
ago,
good to
but
see you, Tilla.
very nice to see you too. Congrats on everything. Thanks
Thank
for
you
letting
so
me
much.
pipe in here, PJ.
Thank you, Attila, and then we'll get to
Hey, Artie.
and then a
Hey,
couple-
Bobby. Yeah,
How you doing?
good. Thanks for letting me hop on here, PJ. Just want to share some great memories and life lessons. I was, fortunate to play on those 97, 98 teams that had tons of guys play at a really high level, and just some things that stick with you. I wish I had Coach Farrell's memory on the detail, but some life lessons stick with you and make you who you are as a man. Want to share one of those and thank Coach Farrell. But I can remember my senior year, we had a really good team. We had Jeff Miller, we had, Knight, we had Marcus Toniel, we had a lot of really good players, Roman. And I can remember we won we won that year in football. We had a lot of 3-sport athletes still, if you remember there too. I know you weren't too happy about that, Bobby, but I recruited all the guys to play wide receiver for me that year. And we ended up going undefeated in football and won the conference championship. Then we lost in the state final.
Yeah,
And,
well, just I can jump in here, Artie. The reason I was upset that you recruited them all, because when you lost to St. Joe's, they all came in the next day for basketball practice with concussions. If you remember.
Well, I do remember because that was my story. So I come in the next day, we lost the state championship. We all come into the gym and Coach Farrell's looking at me with like a side eye. And he's like, what are you doing here? And I, played my junior year, and I looked at him kind of funny. I said, well, what do you mean? And he goes, well, you just played at a high level in football. You're going to play at a high level in baseball. You're probably not going to get more than 2 minutes a game in basketball. What are you doing here? And, I remember that took me aback, right? Because I was a competitive guy, and, I think our collection of guys, everyone was the best player from where they were from, all competing against each other. And I looked at him and I said, well, Coach, I don't think anyone will work these guys as hard as I will. And if you let me on the team, I promise you, I'll get after these guys. And I can remember, you challenged me and you gave me a hard time and said, if you slack at all, basically you're off the team. And it was a great life lesson because, playing hard, at a high level in 2 sports, and then on a 3rd sport, not really playing at all. That was real life. That was post Seton Hall Prep. And I had a chance to play collegiate football. And they recruited me, and then I found out I was the 11th guy in the depth chart for quarterback my freshman year. I didn't think they carried 11 quarterbacks, but I'd say my experience playing for you helped me more than necessarily the success I had in football or baseball, because it was that work ethic. And I want to thank you.
Hey, Artie, you were a great teammate, and I have a picture of you. I think they had just announced Jeff Miller as the MVP of the state final, and you're like jumping on top of him. You had such joy on your face. Mm-hmm. And, you don't win championships without guys like Artie, who push them other players every day in practice and have been such a success in 2 other sports. Takes a special person to be able to do that, step back and let the others shine, but you make them get better. So I appreciate everything that you did, Artie.
I just real quick, going way back to those years, and there was a Roselle Catholic story freshman year. I believe I threw about 150 pitches in order to beat your brother. That was very, very
That's
critical.
Correct. We didn't have pitch counts back then.
No, not at all. Forget that.
Not at all.
So I think for everyone on the call, the foundation in life is set for you at Seton Hall Prep. Your takeaway is phenomenal as life goes on. And part of that takeaway was Bobby Farrell from my perspective. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Eddie.
I want to touch on something really quickly, what Mike Ozarek had said earlier. Without going into too long on my story, I lived in Hollywood for 20 years. And I went from producing a reality show to being Rihanna's bodyguard for about a couple of weeks to being homeless. So that Seton Hall preparatory spirit that has it set forward, it doesn't die even at our age. But my story is this, I had you for gym class twice. And of course, we were all petrified to be like, oh no, you don't want Mr. Farrell as gym coach. No, that's not a good thing. cherished memory. We were at the old Walsh Gymnasium playing volleyball one year, and I think it was Greg Shanafy or Pete Salamini had kept trying to hit the big scoreboard at Walsh Gym with the volleyball, and he succeeded finally. And when you look over at him and say, "Hey, you do that one more time, I'm gonna send you to Dean of Men." We're laughing at it like, Mr. Butler, yeah, Mr. Farrell sent me to the office for playing volleyball wrong, and because we're rolling back and forth, screaming and laughter in the locker room. I'm gonna tell you, Coach Farrell, it is a pleasure to see that you are still coaching. And I'm like, wait, retired? No, that's Mr. Farrell. That means we're all getting older, I guess.
Just one final question. I thought it was a good, appropriate one for you to end on. What kept you at the prep and not go to, college or any other school to coach?
First of all, there's no better school to coach at than Seton Hall Prep. I mean, we had a headmaster who I love like a brother, Monsignor Kelly. He's just, you can't ask for a better boss. You can't ask for somebody who works harder than you, appreciates everything you do. There wasn't a championship or, big victory that I didn't get a note from him. I was blessed to have an athletic director that demanded, in Joe Walsh, that demanded that me and my players act a certain way. So there was very few high school jobs that to this day I would say were better than Seton Hall Prep. And so I was kind of blessed that way. And you'll be surprised, there's not many, once you're a high school coach for a while, you're not gonna make a jump to college ranks. You're really not prepared. Not that you don't know the X's and O's, but you don't really know how to recruit. You don't know how to handle a lot of the things that you have to handle. I mean, those of you that know football, Jerry Faust, who went from high school to Notre Dame, he couldn't do it. And he was a great high school coach, but he wasn't sure how to recruit. He wasn't sure how to, handle alumni. And there's so much to it. And I understood that. And I had never any eyes. I felt I had the best job of any coach around.